Hello, hello, beautiful creatives. Welcome back to Beginner's Mind, Art Mind. I'm Linda Marcel, and if you are new here, welcome. This is a channel where I, as an artist struggling with a chronic illness, try to encourage other artists to develop a creative practice to help them navigate chronic illness, grief, any difficult life situations, to dive deep into your own daily creative practice to navigate difficult times and difficult, stressful things in your life. So this week, what I have for you is a double sketchbook tour. And I'm excited to have finished these two sketchbooks up. This one I have been working on, since 5/5/23, so May. And I just finished it up on 11/28. So this is done. This one I started on 7/13/23, and I actually haven't put my finish date on it yet, but I finished it last night. So this, for those of you that follow me, you will know that this is an inexpensive sketchbook. I bought these in packs of 3. They have very cheap paper, which is fun to doodle and sketch on in my art nest at night, in the evening, while my husband's watching TV. All of the items that I mention in this video and in all of my videos are always below the video in the video description area. You just click the little more link. I think it might say something different on the phone versus the computer, but it's a little link you click to expand the description area. And there are links down there for all of my social media sites, for everything, my wish lists, and the supplies that I use in all my videos. So I have an Amazon favorite store where most of my supplies are. And then I do list individual links if I mention items that are not on my Amazon favorites list. So I just have to, my desk is cleared off. I feel like I should say I'm coming to you today from a cleared off desk because it's been such a mess lately. But I think what I will do is just decide which book I'm going to start with. I'll probably start with this one. And what I think I'm going to do is I'll flip through and talk a little bit, but I'm not going to go into a lot of detail about each painting and what it was done in, because I do that for my patrons. As I work through my sketchbooks, I film little clips for them and talk more in depth about each page and what I'm doing. So I don't think I'm going to repeat that here, but I will do a full flip through in real time so you can see what I've been up to in these two sketchbooks in the last few months. Okay, guys, I'm going to flip the camera around and get started. I hope you enjoy the video. Okay, so I think I'm going to start with this one. And this is a Royal Talons sketchbook. A bunch of these that are in the beginning of this one were timed drawing sessions from Emma Carlisle's Patreon. She has the most fun timed drawing sessions where everybody just gets silly and has a blast. So this was a 5-minute one. This was a plein air painting I did out in the yard in gouache, and there's a video on that on my YouTube, I believe. This was just, I think, colored pencil. There's a video on that. There's probably videos on a lot of these, either on Patreon or on YouTube. These were the 1-minute pigeon drawings from Emma's class. This was another class of Emma's. Oh, not class, her Patreon. Zoom, there's Zoom sessions. This is, I think this is acrylic gouache. This is testing out my new fountain pen. I just absolutely am loving working with fountain pens. This one is gouache. Oh, okay, so this was Draw Brighton. So this was 1 minute. Looks kind of scary. This was Frankie in the bath. Frankie is a woman that is one of their models on a regular basis. This was 1 minute. These were the warm-up sketches, 1 minute. 1 minute for each of these. This was 3 minutes. 3 minutes. 3 minutes. It was really a lovely scene that they had set up. She was in the bath with plants surrounding her. Okay, this one just says, have a flu virus, doing master copies. And this was a Robert Motherwell master copy. This was painted in my art nest. I use my sketchbooks a lot in my art nest. I'll try to remember to link a video above, but I have a lot of videos on my art nest, so that might be something if you're interested in setting up your own art nest that you go and have a peek at. Doing some abstracts with ink and watercolor. And added some fountain pen, it looks like. This was another Emma Patreon session. This was another Emma Patreon session. That was a fun one. And this was one of her Patreons. This was painting out in our daylilies out in the front yard. I think this is part of a YouTube video demo, either that or a Patreon. I can never remember. Yeah, this was part of a tutorial video that I did painting outside. I just forget if it was YouTube or Patreon at this point, but it's kind of a fun video where I set up and did each of the daylily paintings with a different medium. It was fun to do. This was a plein air session I did up at a wetlands park near us. This is Senex squash. More ink and gouache, colored pencil, it looks like maybe. Oh, it says Senex squash. I thought it was ink. It says it's gouache. This was Senex squash using a palette knife, which that was fun. And it has held up really well. It has not cracked at all. These were done with Senex and a palette knife. Just an intuitive palette cleanup painting. This was another intuitive painting. I believe I did a video on this one. Yes, I did do a video on this one. I love that painting. That's my ghost dog, my beloved Nico, who I miss so much. Oh, I miss him so much. It really does help painting him. He seems to show up in a lot of my paintings. These were Emma Carlisle sessions. This was just painting a place that my husband and I like to go in the fall. This was a master study of David, is it David Park? Oh, I usually make a note of the name of the artist that I master copy of, and I didn't make a note there. This says Alf Lindbergh study. I really like that. And I almost always go my own way. Oh, this was an interior on Instagram that I got permission from the woman who posted it to paint. It was just such a lovely, this is one painting. It was like her dining room or something, and it had this great window filled with plants. This was just goofing around with some China markers, colored pencil, gouache, all kinds of stuff in there. Oh, this was the wax resist video. I think this was one of the Patreon wax resist videos, and everybody had so much fun. Yes, this is another one of those, the wax resist. We all had so much fun doing these wax resist paintings. Yeah, what a blast. I need to do some more of those because I really enjoyed it. This was a wax resist painting. If you want to see that lesson, you can see more of that on my Patreon. This was actually a master study too, and I didn't write, boy, I'm getting bad at that. I didn't write whose painting that is, and I just don't remember. These are more Senex gouache paintings. This is mixed media, all kinds of oh, is this all marker? This might be all, yeah, this is all Montana markers. That set, there's a video on that of all the Montana markers that I was sent by Montana. They sent me a massive amount of markers, and I've been using them, and they're working really well. So I had a first batch that didn't work well. This one was, oh, it says Posca pens tore up the page too much to use on this paper. Yeah, the Posca pens were rougher than the Montana markers, but I think the Montana markers might still be a little rough. This was Senex Gouache. I really love this painting. This was Senex Gouache. This was inspired by an Edvard Munch painting. And this was done after Matisse, a Matisse painting. Most of these I have changed so much you wouldn't recognize them if you went to look them up. But this was just an imaginary interior, I think. Love the colors on that one. I love the mirror reflecting the doorway. That really gives the painting depth, I think. Just a expressive fooling around with whatever materials I had in my art nest. More abstracts. Sometimes when I'm just really struggling with not feeling well or high pain levels in my art nest, I'll just do abstracts, and it's really fun, and it's a release, you know. It really gets your mind off your troubles. These were two other paintings I did in my art nest. This looks like it was Senex Gouache. This looks like it might have been done with my dry gouache palette. I have a dry gouache palette with Senex in it and a wet gouache palette with Senex. This was palette cleanup page. All kinds of layers of color on there. This was a palette cleanup page. This was Crayola crayons. When we were doing the wax resist, I bought a set of Crayola crayons, and this was just a drawing I did with them. Just another, oh, I think, yes, this was a palette cleanup page too. Oh, that's right, there's a video on these. I did these backgrounds and then went back in and drew on them instead of painting on them, and I just did little splotches, and I really enjoyed creating that way. I loved making the splotches. Oh, this is one I never, palette cleanup, I never went back to. I even put a marker in there so I would remember. I'll be darned. I don't know if I will actually go back to that now, because I'm going to put this away after the video, and I actually kind of like the way this looks as it is, so I might leave it. But more palette cleanup pages. This was a palette cleanup splotch that I did. This was two, and then I did colored pencil over this one, and I guess it looks like colored pencil over this one too. The quote was, "Someday you will forgive yourself for the things that were never your fault." That's right. I went into this stage then of writing with my paintings. This was palette cleanup splotches, where I just mixed up the colors that I had left, and it turned to sort of this neutral gray. And I love the way this looks for a background. I think I'm going to do more of that. Absolutely love it. And then I love that I did the drawing in white and black. I think that's a great look. That's fun. And then the end of my sketchbooks are always swatching and notes. So this was swatching out some luminance pencils that I was given as a gift and some Derwent graph tint. This swatching is on a YouTube video. This was liquid charcoal that I was given by that same person. And it's a mystery person, so lots of gratitude to that person for this lovely gift of all these items, but I don't know who it is. And this was a collage I did. I did a video on making collage papers, and then I went ahead and did a collage with it. Most of you will probably remember these videos. Just a fun little expressive, sort of a Chagall-esque drawing that I did in my art nest one night. I really love doing these primitive little drawings. Montana markers, testing them out. Yeah, just more testing stuff out and names of artists. So that is the end of the first sketchbook. And now we'll do this one. 7/13 to 12/7. These sketchbooks come with this little cover on them, but I always take it off while I'm working on it and then put it back on at the end. There's a lot of pages in this one, so I may not talk as much during this one. Oh, it's funny. There's a note down here. It says sick with virus, 100.6 temperature. I don't know why I wrote that. That's kind of funny. But see, it just goes to show you, even when you're sick, you can still really simply create. I believe this is with one of these little brushes that I filled with my Ecoline inks. It was either Ecoline or Diamine. I forget which that purple one was, but those are really fun to play with when you're low on energy. I actually have a video on that too, on filling those pens with ink. This was drawing the dog. It looks kind of like a fish almost, doesn't it? It was my Dremel tool that I used to cut my dog's nails. Playing with words here, blackbird, but making the bird white or other colors. Just more intuitive work. When I create in this sketchbook in my art nest, it's almost always about play. This was Emma Carlisle's Patreon. It was Animals in Pajamas. That was a fun session. But what I was saying is when I create in my art nest, it's almost always about play. It's rarely about doing a completed painting. It's just play, experimenting. This was one of Emma's Patreons. This was too. Yep, this was Emma and Sarah Dyer together. This was Emma's. I think this was also Emma and Sarah together. This was from Emma's Drawing Club. This was just me fooling around on my own with those ink brushes that I just showed you. This was, yep, the ink brushes again. Notes from Draw Brighton. This was Draw Brighton, making notes about their figure drawing. I think that was Draw Brighton too, but I'm not positive. Just this was just a picture from one of those copyright-free sites. I loved the idea of the see-through umbrellas and the people walking. I still actually really like this one. This was charcoal, it looks like. This is Toshi in his little bed. He loves to lie in his bed in front of the French door so that he can soak up the sun. That was fountain pen. That was fountain pen. More daylilies with some sort of crayon. It was probably Neocolor 2. Yeah, because it doesn't feel like oil pastel. So it's Neocolor 2. It was the daylilies and the hosta lilies were blooming. And they make such a pretty combination together. This was just a landscape. And this, to show the cheapness of this paper, I overworked it on this side, doing 2 pastel paintings. Trying to tell if this is pastel. I think it is. 2 pastel paintings back to back was too much for the papers, so the daylilies came through. Really, this paper is not meant to be rough with. I buy these just really to do drawing on, and then sometimes I grab it and end up going further with it. I try to save that for like my art creations or moleskin sketchbooks when I think I'm going to go further. This was the Pentel ink brushes. They got some neon colors in there, really bright colors. Fountain pen, fountain pen. More fountain pen. Really enjoy sketching with the fountain pens. This was from Emma's drawing. This was Emma's drawing session too. I did these earlier in the book in pencil, and then I went back and did them in fountain pen. This was Floor Length Frankie. She calls herself Floor Length Frankie because she has, her hair actually goes down so far it drags on the floor. But yeah, this is I was correcting mistakes with a Posca pen, an ivory Posca pen, and the fountain pen ink in that particular pen was not waterproof, so it smudged, which was kind of a cool effect. Just testing out fountain pen colors because I have a set with a bunch of different colors in, and that set is in my Amazon favorite shop. Oh, this was a meditation I did with my therapist, actually, and I just drew it out. That's supposed to be Jesus in a boat coming to meet my adult self and my younger self. Probably too much information here, but yeah, this was working through a visualization that I did with my therapist. Healing session. This is the tiny house, which was a tiny cottage that we're building to get away from the mold, and we're still not sure if we're coming back to this house ever or staying there. But if we are staying there, we're going to have to do some sort of little addition for a studio. Not sure how that's going to work out. This was a palette cleanup page that I turned into an intuitive painting and love the way it turned out. It's amazing when you just go to find shapes, what these come out. I think palette cleanup paintings are some of my favorite. This was Tilly from Draw Brighton. This was the warm-ups, so it was probably 1 minute drawings, just layering them on top of each other. Yeah, 1 minute. And this was 3 minutes of Tilly. She had a popsicle. That was Tilly for 3 minutes. This was Emma's Patreon, and the model is Trixie. She calls herself the Blushing Model on Instagram. Just drawing. I don't even know where I got that image from. Just messing around with pastels or probably Neocolors. I think this was Neocolor 2s. My fountain pen again. Oh, this was Michael Worm on Instagram. It was loosely based on a photo that Michael Worm posted and Kim Smith painted. He posts the most lovely stuff. His Instagram name is Inspired by Charm, if you're not following him. And he posts recipes, neat holiday decoration crafts throughout the year. Beautiful posts. So he's worth following. More fountain pen. This was a Draw Brighton model. This was Floor Length Frankie. Just doing, oh, this was the Diamine ink, Oxblood. This was Diamine ink, I think it's called Oxford Blue. Oh, this is the Oxford Blue, so this must be Aurora Borealis or something like that. Just such a neat look with a fountain pen that you don't get with anything else. This was a Matisse drawing after a Matisse painting. Another Matisse sketch. Oh, this was blind contours. Another really fun thing to do in your art nest. If you're not feeling well or you're just trying to distract yourself from your worries. This is Dawn sitting on the couch. And I just did blind contours, one on top of another. So I took three different color fountain pens and did one drawing and then another and another color and another color. Really fun. And it's good. It's a really great exercise for your drawing. These were both blind contours too. This was of a chair with a sketchbook on it, and this was a basket on my wall with some Native American flutes on it. This I'm actually sad that I did in this sketchbook, this cheap sketchbook, because I love this. I should try to scan this. I just think that came out so well. That's the Senex gouache, and it's gorgeous. I really love it. Not always the way you do it, and you're cheap. Oh, this was when I broke my thumb, and then I posted this, and so I broke it, and we think I actually damaged a tendon. I have to go back and have them look at it. I'm just waiting for the date to get it set up for occupational therapy, but somebody said they thought that I cut it off. And it kind of does look like that. It's a little dramatic, but I broke it, and it still hurts. It's not healing well. Yeah. More fountain pen. Love drawing with fountain pens. How many times have I said that? Funky faces with watercolors sitting in my art nest. This was looks like just watercolor, I think. It's hard to say. It looks like there's some mixed media in there. Yeah, for sure. There's some pens in there. Yeah, that's marker. Just playing around. These were watercolor in my art nest. These were the Paul Rubens watercolors. The Milang, actually. These were the Milang, which is a sister company of Paul Rubens. And Paul Rubens is sending me some watercolors to try out for you guys. A couple of different brands, a couple of different watercolor items from their line. So that will be fun to do. Just a drawing. Oh, my little ghost dog in there, my Nico. This was just, you know, supposed to represent Frida with the bird and riding on a lion. I need to do a painting of that. I'm going to put a paper in there because I would love to do a painting of that when my energy gets a little higher. Yep. Got to do a painting of that. I love that drawing. See, that's what happens too, is I'll do these things, and that was supposed to represent like Frida as a superhero. I really hated it after I drew it, so like I don't even know why there's a shoe down there. Like, what does that even mean? I don't know. Sometimes they work out good and sometimes they don't work out. These were inspired by Peggy Crowell Roberts and her beach. And this was the one I talked about this in the YouTube video. I love drawing with watercolor and fountain pen because you can't correct it. When you saw earlier, I took a Posca pen and corrected it, but I feel like when I draw with pencil, I get way too fussy and something shifts in my head and I try too hard to make it right. To me, this where I just went in with a brush and watercolor is a much better drawing. It's crazy. Something happens in your head with art making where you get tripped up. You trip yourself up. This was drawing with watercolor, just with a brush and watercolor. It was supposed to be it was a vintage photo. That's another thing I want to go back to. I was painting vintage photos for a while and loved it. I loved it. But, you know, it's just not a perfect drawing by any means. It's totally out of scale and wonky, and that's exactly what I love about it. I think it really gives it charm. So this was a vintage photo for Halloween that I did. This is just mixed media, intuitive painting, fooling around, more art nest stuff. This book is, I forget if I said this, but this sketchbook is exclusively my art nest. I keep it downstairs on the coffee table. And this was the wax resist. Again, really fun exercise. This was the wax resist. Again, so much fun. More information on Patreon about that. Just sketching. There again, pencil. And it's like all wonky and mistakes. And I'm erasing fountain pen, where you don't have the option, and it's such a better drawing. I love the wonkiness of it. I don't know. It's just my head gets tripped up with a pencil. I think I got to correct things and change things, and I'm not as free with my drawing. I love the bread up on top of the refrigerator in that one. I wasn't supposed to talk much during these, and I'm yakking so much. This might end up being a long video. Another one with a fountain pen. Love it, love it, love it. This was Neocolor, another life drawing session, just using a crayon. Same here. This, I don't even know where I got the reference for this. It might have been Pinterest. Might have been another vintage photo. But I started just drawing with crayons so that I wouldn't correct myself, just get funky drawings. Same here. This is Neocolor 2s. And I think, you know, I'm not sure. That might be a luminance. I bet that's a luminance colored pencil. Yeah, that's probably the same colored pencil. Yeah, I was going to say, is that ballpoint pen? But no, I think it's fountain pen. Make more bad art. It's good for your soul. Looks like this is a mix of Neocolor crayons and China markers. This one I love. This was I did it with Milang watercolors, and I didn't write. It was a master copy. that I did. I completely changed it up, but, you know, the colors and everything. But I love this. I just love how she's supposed to be pregnant, and I love how pensive she looks. This was inspired by Edvard Munch. Love that one too. Really wonky horse. This was the Milang watercolors. And this was just intuitive, just throwing stuff in there. My ghost dog showed up again, Nico. I love it when he shows up in my paintings. I feel like he's visiting me. I was thinking of doing a painting of this. It's sort of a Marc Chagall sort of feeling to it, but I didn't. Just intuitive, not sure what I was doing. Oh, this was when I was starting to think about the war paintings that I did. That's right. This is supposed to be a girl staring at her cell phone in her comfortable home, and then right outside the walls, you know, in another country is all this terrible killing and bombing and stuff going on. Courage for the journey. Yeah, this was more ideas for the war paintings that I did. More sketching. Another Neocolor. I find it's really easy to stay primitive with the crayons, with the Neocolor crayons. I really do enjoy that. A green horse. Is that an angel? Did she have wings? Yeah, angel riding a green horse. Love it. Just thinking of ideas for other paintings. Oh, I love her. She's funky. She was on Pinterest. I found her on Pinterest. This was probably another Pinterest reference photo. And since mine never look anything like the originals, I don't worry too much about copyright on there. If it's on Instagram, I do ask permission. But, yeah, sketch probably of somebody on Pinterest. Just fooling around. This looks like it was felt tip marker. I'm not sure what this looks like. It might have been some, yeah, this might have been that Posca marker over something like, I was going to say Stabilo, but it's probably an ink or luminance colored pencil. More fountain pen. Oh, you can tell I'm getting tired. I'm losing my words. Oh, and this is when I went back into using quotes, which I've really been enjoying. So I am trusting the uncertainty and believing I will end up somewhere right and good. That's a Rupi Kaur, I think is how you say it, K-A-U-R, quote. I love her poetry. If you're waiting for them to make you feel like you're enough, you'll be waiting a long time. That's a poetry quote from the same author, but I love how wonky she is. She's just so wonky. You gotta love fountain pen drawings. And look at her face on that one. Just so wonky. Fountain pen. You know, if you watch the video when I got the Diamine inks, I didn't like the oxblood, and I ended up mixing my own color. But now I use just the pure oxblood because I really love it. I think it's a great color to draw with. This was just ballpoint pen sitting in my art nest one night. I did do some corrections with the Posca paint marker. But be patient, for what was written for you was written by the greatest of writers. I think that's a quote from the Quran or something. But just ballpoint pen, just scribbling around. Find someone who loves you just as you are. This was a Pinterest reference drawing picture. And then just fountain pen play. I like her. I like this angel a lot. I should paint her. Yeah, that's the problem with sketchbooks. They get put away on your shelf and then you don't take them back out. Oh yeah, this is an idea that I had for a painting that I just didn't do. I wonder if I should put a marker in there too. Maybe I should. Maybe I should keep this sketchbook out so that I do. This was fun. This was Senex Gouache, I think. Yes, Senex Gouache. Who would you be if you weren't afraid? I posted this on Instagram and got some good comments on that. This looks like, I'm not even sure what that is. Oh, I think maybe it's just, I don't know. I'm not sure what I was, oh yes, these are the Montana markers. Yes, that's right. Yeah, these are the Montana markers, the finer tip. Yeah, this is all the Montana marker, which does shred the paper a little bit. The paper does surprisingly well. It did blow through there a little bit. This paper holds up surprisingly well for such cheap paper, though. I like this one, how I drew it with 2 different colors. Yeah, these are all the Montana markers with the bullet tip. This is Milan. Oh, no, this is the Graphy Tint pans, paint pans that someone gifted me. I love these colors, these subtle colors. In the absence of love and belonging, there is suffering. I think that's really beautiful. And I did that with, the outlining is with my fountain pen. And this is the Montana markers, just doing a little sketch. Is this last night or a couple of nights ago, maybe? I think it might have been, yeah, I think it might have been last night that I did this. I didn't date it, but my ghost dog showed up, Nico. I love him so much. I miss him. And just some geraniums. We have a red chair in the living room with some geraniums on it. Yeah. This was the Montana markers. Just doing some distorted faces. Playing with things. I like that one. That's kind of cool. Giving somebody the side eye. Yeah, just playing with markers. This was my sort of a contour drawing of one of my nutcrackers and a little angel that was behind him. This is funny because when I get to the end of a sketchbook and there's only like 3 or 4 pages left of it, I'm done. I'm just so done with that sketchbook, and I want to be done with it and put it on the shelf and start a new one. And that's what happened last night. I was just scribbling stuff down. It was like 3 pages left. It was like, just finish. This is a quote from Julian of Norwich, all will be well. I think it's like, all will be well, all shall be well, and all manner of things will be well. Just putting whatever down. Oh, this was a great quote that I may use in something later on. But it's sometimes people can't reciprocate because they can't give you what they can't give themselves. Those who are at war with themselves can't give you peace. Those who betray themselves can't give you loyalty. Those who lie to themselves can't give you honesty. See them as they are, not who you wish them to be, because that will always cause suffering. Trying to make friends and families who disappoint you, family members who disappoint you, be as you want them to be is a useless task because it will always disappoint you. You have to allow them to be who they are. Much, much, much harder to do than it sounds. And then these were just notes. I turned the journal upside down on this purposely because these were notes from Brighton Drawing. I took a little lesson from them on figure drawing and turned it upside down. And that, my friends, is the second sketchbook. Way, way, way more chatty than I meant it to be. So there they are, the 2 sketchbooks. And I'm going to flip the camera around again. Okay, guys, so that's the sketchbook tour. And I hope you enjoyed it. And I hope that you are busy working in your own sketchbooks during this holiday season, especially because the holiday season can be so stressful and everybody has so much stuff going on in their life right now. And the world is so weird right now. And people are being so rude to each other and things are hard. So take it to your sketchbook. Take your emotions and whatever you're going through to your sketchbook and paint it out, draw it out, take some deep breaths, and then with your exhale, release whatever it is that you're going through, and then literally just put marks on paper. Doesn't have to be art. Just create something. Put some paint down. Do some loose sketching. But create. Keep your creative practice going. So I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did, I would really appreciate a thumbs up. And if you subscribed, if you want to see all of my videos, hit notifications. And I wish you really happy holiday season. I will probably see you next week, but I'm not sure. I still am sort of leaving myself some leeway to do either every week or every other week. But in between, I will definitely see my patrons on Patreon. I'm being pretty steady with that. So yeah, God bless. Have a great week. Hit your sketchbooks. Mwah, and I will see you in the next video. Bye.